Hello friends, this is Chandrakant from Akulmach Technologies, and today we would like to discuss about the latest tussle which is going on between Indian government and Twitter. They are loggerhead, and there are a lot of legal questions and answers are going on between the two parties. To discuss this further, let me invite my friend from UK, Mr. Naval Gund.
Good morning, CK. Good morning, everybody. Another communication platform is coming up in the corners, and I believe it's called Coo. Is that right? So we're not going to be tweeting, we're going to be cooing.
Absolutely, it's a coo, like a cuckoo. So it's an Indian version of a completely Indian designed micro blogging site. And the best part is, as far as Indians are concerned, the Twitter has been behaving very arrogantly. We will discuss that shortly. But I like to showcase the Koo platform to you. And by the way, Koo is now gaining 150% every hour. A lot of people are joining it, and they are moving out of Twitter. And if this continues, and if Twitter does not change the way they are loggerhead with the Indian government, very soon they will lose 50% of the global market. India is a very big market for Twitter. So let me show you my screen. Let me share my screen with you so that you can see and compare. Give me a moment.
Yeah,
Let
no, please go ahead. It's important to know that the competition is great. I mean, it keeps the competition on its toes. So when you get a newcomer into the arena, despite the fact when we're thinking about it, Twitter is phenomenally large. And as you said, CK, Indians are big users of Twitter. And that will put a big dent in, Twitter's armory or Twitter's. So I'm really forward to what this coup platform is, because we can find out actually just whether it is a real competitor, whether it's doing things differently, whether it's doing things the same, is it intuitive? So let's have a look. I can see where you've got started screen sharing. It's not quite there yet, but
yeah, just starting. Can you see the screen?
I can now. Yes.
So it is very similar to a Twitter platform. It's an Indian micro blog website, and it's very similar. As you can see here, you can do different kinds of coups. Instead of saying tweets, we say coups, and it's moving on. Um, and you can see, I can create my profile here, and I can start cooing, as we see, as we say.
Cooing. It's like the pigeon. The logo looks like a little. It almost looks like a tweet. I mean, a little Tweety Pie. I think they might have a bit of copyright if they're not careful there, but I'm sure the design has been looked at.
Yes, so
It's
it is very.
looks very similar, CK. You've
Absolutely.
got handles. You've got handles. You've got the feed that looks the same. You've got the likes, the re-coos. We're gonna have to we create a new language. Cooing. I feel like I'm in Trafalgar Square with all the pigeons. Coo 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 coo. So that's the fun side of life, ladies and gentlemen, because business should be fun. But let's look at the seriousness of this. Why is coup coming up on the rails? Why is Twitter falling out with the Indian government?
Well, it is because of the certain handles identified by the law authorities here in India, which are actually fabricating the false news, and there are proofs. The police and the law authorities have given the proof that how these different blue ticked handles have been creating, fabricating unrest in India. And these people who are running all these different Twitter handles are also getting funded from Canada and Pakistan. And all of these are funded by terrorist money. So there is a whole lot of background there is a rule of law here in India, and everyone has to follow that, including Twitter, Facebook, WhatsApp, whatever. So all other companies like Facebook and WhatsApp and all other social platforms are following the norms of the Indian government. For example, in WhatsApp, you can't if you are forwarding more than 4 to 5 times. In Facebook, same content 4 to 5 times, they will block you for 2 days. So everybody else is following the norms which are set up by the Indian government just to prevent any unrest which is created by the false news. However, these 300 handles which have been identified recently related to one particular farmer movement, and about 500 and odd in Pakistan, Indian government has given them the dossiers and proof and everything else what is needed to shut these handles down. Surprisingly enough, while Twitter could shut down Trump for the same cause for life, they are refusing to shut down these 500 to 300 Twitter handles, which is pissing off the Indian government and Indian people, because we know for sure these are the people who are funded by terrorists. They are harmful to India and Indian sovereignty. So, India is a big market for Twitter, more than 350 million subscribers in India. And just for 300 handles, if they are loggerhead with the Indian government, I fail to understand. The only reason that comes to my mind as a citizen of India is either you have a mischievous design for which you're continue to promote these 300 handles which are propagating false news against India, trying to create unrest in this country, or you have been funded by something. So I think these are the two cases which comes to my mind as a layman. Over to you. What do you feel, Neville?
Well, you raise a very important point, very interesting point. In whereas Twitter decided to shut down Donald Trump for inciting unrest, let's say, being polite, maybe. If evidence has been given to Twitter, which, by the way, they do ask for, because all of these social platforms are under a lot of pressure with regards to social grooming, making sure that there's no civil unrest, no global unrest with regards to inciting, people to do the wrong thing, to uprise. So all of these social platforms say that they want to make sure that all of this grooming, if you like, is completely nullified and taken out of society. When they're given clear examples of grooming, which this is one classic case, 300 sites, this is not as insignificant, they're turning a blind eye. So it's really difficult. I mean, we don't know the ins and outs, let's face it, do we? I mean, although we say the evidence has been provided, but the issue is, because freedom of speech is what we all want, but equally, we all want to be able to eradicate fake news so that we're dealing with facts. Otherwise, I mean, what are we in society? We're just throwing around mud. So wherever it sticks, people like throwing around mud for some reason. And in this particular part of the world's evolution, the last thing we want to do is to be adding more and more fuel to a fire that doesn't exist. And I think that's the piece for me. And this is where I'm not surprised, actually, that a competitor is now seeing an opportunity to come in under the rails on the back end of a very open fight. I mean, when you look at it, this is going to be fought in the social media arena. It's not going to be fought in the courts. And ultimately, as we do know, the Indian government will use its power. It turned off TikTok overnight. It just basically cancelled the app in India. So I'm sure it will probably, I hope it doesn't come to this, but we're now in a bit of a fight here, and I think our social media platforms need to start to standing up and really standing up for what they really are. You know, they're obviously in this to make money. They're entrepreneurs, but let's hope they're social entrepreneurs as well. In that, if people really are inciting this violence type of arena, they're shut down immediately. I mean, you know as well as I do, it's so easy to create a Twitter account, a Facebook account, any social media account. It's really easy. All you've got to do these days is have an email address. And as Google openly says, you can create an email address, you can have 100 email addresses, you know, and they're all free. So we're working in this free society where communication is free, it's cheap, it gives people a platform, and unfortunately, there are a few people in the world that abuse the platform, and I'm sure Twitter doesn't want their platform abused. Neither does any of the other social media platforms want their platform abused, and Coup will be doing exactly the same thing. But whether it's going to be governed tightly by a new Freedom Act, maybe. I mean, I don't know. I've no idea what the Indian government are going to be doing with this. But we do like information. We thrive in information. I mean, that's why there's billions of users on Twitter and billions of users on Facebook. It's that communication level that we all dream for and desire. And the last thing we want is a government to be shutting it down. But there's very good reasons why it should shut it down. So, you know, so if it's in the public interest, then these private companies need to start listening to the legislators, and because they should be working together, shouldn't they? I mean, this is the whole point about these platforms. They should be working for the benefit of the public interest, not for the disbenefit.
Well, Neville, I fully agree with you, and this is how they should behave. It's a commercial organization, and why there is a problem with Twitter for past 2 years. Twitter has been in news for something or the other, whereas the much bigger platforms like Facebook, which is 3 to 4 times the size of Twitter in terms of subscriptions, they are following all norms. Not only Indian government, they don't seems to have problem with any other government. I mean, imagine a situation in your country, UK. They show one of the islands, or let's say, Scotland is not part of UK. Suppose they publish a map like that, what will be the reaction of the people there? And Twitter has been constantly doing that. They are publishing false maps of India. And these are the maps which have been floating around among the terrorist lobby for past 10 years. It's the design. So Twitter themselves mischievously carrying those maps and publishing it. So every time Indian government is, warning them and saying that, hey, you should not do this. This is against the sovereignty of India. And they are doing many things. So government has actually exhausted their 100 tries, and now it has come to a level where they are pinning them down legally. They have given them list with proof to shut down these 300 handles. And in a large country like India, can't even government has the power to shut down 300 guys which are blue ticked on Twitter. I think they have, and Twitter should comply. It's just 300 people. And if you look at their subscription, 800 million people, half of them are Indians. So, Twitter has to make a call very quick, very soon. What they want? They want to get the money from the Islamist, uh, leftist, terrorist lobby, or they will lose out very soon half of their subscription base in India.
Well, it's certainly a political issue. It's a shame it's become a political issue. And remember what we're saying, it's not Twitter that are publishing these pictures. It's people on Twitter that are publishing the issues. So we need to be a bit careful about that one. But it's true. I mean, if I saw a site that was insightful, then I would report it. It even gives you an option to report it. You know, this is a this is a tweet that actually doesn't meet certain guidelines. You do wonder where that level of reporting goes, to be honest, because you just see it being repeated and repeated. But it is it's not even a fine balance here. It's an issue of public awareness in many respects, and people just going beyond the line. And if these people have gone beyond the line, then they need to be called to account. And this is where the private entities like Twitter, like Facebook, like LinkedIn, etc., they need to be held to account too, because they should be working together within the public interest. So it's a fascinating subject. We'll see where it unfolds. If we see an announcement over the next week that Twitter's been banned in India, we won't be too surprised, I'm sure. But the interesting thing from a commercial point of view, I mean, and a competitive point of view, cuckoo, we've already got a competitor, and it looks like it's gaining some speed.
There are few organizations who have completely migrated away from Twitter, and they are completely on course, and they are announcing in their including Indian government, they have announced a warning to Twitter on coup. So that shows the level of loggerhead which is going on there. And just to share one bit of information, few days back, I was actually trying to wish my friends on birthday in Facebook. And what I did, I created one template and I was just cut paste because I had to wish 10 friends on that particular day. After the 8th try, Facebook blocked me for 2 days. They gave me a warning that you're trying to cut paste something, you're trying to spam, and it is not good for the community. So while Facebook being a much, much bigger player in terms of social media, they have brought these checks and balances. Even birthday wishes, if I copy paste more than 8 times, it is treated as spam. And on the other hand, Twitter is deliberately playing mischief on the name of freedom of speech. There is enough freedom of speech, but you can't have a hateful, insightful against communities, false news, imaginarily kill somebody and create an unrest, whereas the person is alive. Those kind of mischievous things should be shut down immediately by these business houses. And surprisingly, they are not doing it. And in spite of government requesting them 3 times, giving all the proof, they are still adamant. So I think they will have to face the consequences.
There are always consequences. And, let's hope that they can see the light, because governments do have that potential. And the Indian government has shown that they're serious. TikTok was huge in India, and it's disappeared overnight. So watch out, everybody. Work within the law. I mean, it's as simple as that. If you step outside the law, there's consequences. And if someone says, you can't do that, then you better start listening if they're the right person saying you can't do that. So on a positive note, as I say, the good thing is there's a competitor. Indians are still going to be with their communication system, so we'll be cooing all the way. And maybe in one of our next episodes, I'll be standing in Trafalgar Square with a new theme tune for the coup company. There you go. There's an idea for you. So when I get to Trafalgar Square, I'll be having believe you me, there are thousands of pigeons in Trafalgar Square, and they will all be cooing. So let's hope they're cooing for the right reason.
All right, Neville, thank you for coming and discussing this very important issue. We will catch up again tomorrow with something more interesting.
Cheerio, CK. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.